You are standing at a threshold right now, not metaphorically, not as a figure of speech. Actually, literally, in this precise moment, you are standing at the edge of something that has been approaching you for longer than you realize, and it has finally arrived. The gate is here. It is open. And tonight is not a night like other nights. You didn't find this transmission by accident. That's the first thing you need to understand. The part of you that clicked, that searched, that was drawn here through whatever sequence of events led you to this exact moment. That was not your conscious mind operating. That was something deeper, something that recognized a signal, something that has been waiting for exactly this frequency to appear. And when it did, it moved you toward it with a precision that your thinking mind will spend the next hour trying to catch up with. There is a version of you that existed before tonight. That version had a name, a history, a set of beliefs about who they were and what they were capable of, and what reality owed them, and what they deserved, and what was possible for someone like them. That version had patterns, ways of seeing, ways of reacting, ways of shrinking, ways of explaining away the moments when something vast tried to get their attention. That version was real. That version served a purpose. That version got you here. But that version's time is ending tonight. And on the other side of what you're about to cross through, there is something that has been waiting with a patience that defies ordinary time. Your true identity, not the one constructed by your history, not the one shaped by what people told you about yourself, not the one you assembled from the wreckage of your disappointments and the armor of your defenses, the one that existed before any of that, the one that will remain after all of that falls away, the original, the essential, the one that your soul has been trying to activate for years. And tonight, the conditions are finally right. Tonight is the activation, and you will not get a second chance at this particular crossing. That's not a threat. That's not fear-mongering. That is quantum mechanics. That is how thresholds work. The gate opens at specific moments, when the frequency inside matches the frequency on the other side. And when it opens, you either step through or you don't. And if you don't, the gate doesn't stay open forever. The moment passes, the window closes, and the next time a gate appears, it will be a different gate, at a different threshold, requiring a different version of you to have been ready at this one. So, let's be very precise about what tonight is. Tonight is not an inspiration session. Tonight is not a motivational experience. Tonight is not a pep talk about believing in yourself, or visualizing your dreams, or thinking positive thoughts. Tonight is a threshold crossing. Tonight is a soul activation. Tonight, something in your consciousness is going to shift from one state to another, from the superposition of not quite knowing who you really are to the collapsed certainty of knowing exactly who you are at the deepest level of your being. And once that collapse happens, there is no going back. The gate is open. You are standing at it. Let's begin. Let's start with what's actually happening inside you right now. Because if you're here, there's a very specific set of experiences you've been having. And I want to name them precisely, because the naming is itself part of the crossing. When something that has been formless and unnamed gets named, it shifts. It becomes real in a different way. It becomes crossable. So here is what you've been experiencing. There has been a sense of wrongness, not crisis necessarily, though for some of you it has been crisis, but a deeper, quieter wrongness. A sense that the life you're living, the identity you're wearing, the version of yourself you present to the world, and even to yourself, doesn't quite fit. Like wearing a suit that was made for someone with your measurements, but isn't quite you. Like speaking in a language that you're fluent in, but that isn't your native tongue. You can do it. You do it every day, but there is a constant, low-level translation happening. A constant, low-level friction between who you are performing and who you actually are. Some of you have had this feeling for years. Some of you have had it for decades. Some of you have had it for so long that you've started to believe the friction is just what life feels like, that everyone feels this way, that this is the human condition, that there is no other option. You've made peace with the wrongness. You've built a life around it. You've gotten good at ignoring it. But recently, and this is important, pay attention to this. Recently, the wrongness has gotten louder or stranger, or it has started showing up in ways that are harder to ignore. Things that used to distract you from it aren't working as well anymore. The numbing mechanisms are losing their effectiveness. The explanations you've always given yourself are starting to ring hollow even as you're saying them. Something is pressing from the inside. Something wants out. That pressing sensation. That is your soul activating. That is your true identity beginning to push against the container of the false one. And it is not comfortable. Let's be honest about that. Soul activation is not a pleasant, warm, gentle experience. Or not only that. It is also a dissolution. It is also a pressure. It is also the experience of having the walls of who you thought you were begin to crack. And before you can see what's on the other side of those cracks, all you can feel is the cracking. All you can feel is the destabilization. All you can feel is the terrifying sensation of the ground shifting beneath an identity you've spent years, sometimes decades, building. But here is what quantum mechanics tells us about that sensation. And this is the first piece of the gate that I want to open for you tonight. In quantum physics, there is a state called superposition, A particle in superposition exists in multiple states simultaneously. It is not here or there. It is here and there, and everywhere in between. It is a probability cloud. It is potential without definition. It is everything it could be before it becomes what it is. And this state, this superposition, is not a problem state. It is not a broken state. It is actually the state of maximum potential. The particle in superposition has access to every possibility. It has not yet collapsed into a single reality. But it also cannot act. It cannot move through the world as a defined thing. It cannot have an effect. It cannot build, create, connect, or manifest in any coherent way, because it is not yet coherent. It is still everything it could be, which means it is not yet anything in particular. And what causes the collapse from superposition into a defined state? Observation, measurement, contact with something real. The moment the particle is observed, the moment something in reality makes contact with it and says, "I see you, I measure you, I register what you are," the superposition collapses. All the probability waves contract into a single point. Everything it could have been resolves into exactly what it is, and from that moment forward, the particle has a defined state. It has a location. It has a direction. It has a reality. Now, here is what I want you to understand about your soul. Your soul has been in superposition. Not because something is wrong with it. Not because it's broken or lost or damaged, but because the conditions for collapse, for the precise observation that resolves all the probability waves into a single, clear, defined identity, have not yet been present. You have been living in the quantum cloud of everything you could be, every version of yourself that remains possible, every identity that remains potential. And that cloud is vast. It is rich with possibility, but it is also exhausting. It is also disorienting. It is also the source of that wrongness you've been feeling, because you can sense somewhere below conscious thought that you are not yet collapsed, you are not yet defined, you are not yet yourself. Tonight is the observation event. Tonight is the moment of contact between your consciousness and something real enough, deep enough, true enough to cause the collapse, to cause the probability cloud to contract, to cause everything you could be to resolve into exactly what you are. And what you are is extraordinary. What you are is specific. What you are is not the version of yourself that was constructed by your history. It is the version that your history was always pointing toward, always trying to reveal, always building the conditions for you to finally see. Your true identity is not something you create. It is something you uncover. It is something you were always already carrying underneath every layer of conditioning, every adaptation, every performance, every defense. It is the signal beneath all the noise. And tonight, the noise is going to quiet enough for you to finally hear it clearly. If you can feel yourself standing at this gate right now, between the frequency you've been performing and the one you're actually broadcasting, there is a guide written for exactly this moment. The sealed timeline maps the complete threshold crossing with the precision of a quantum phase transition, walking you through all 5 phases, from diagnosis through collapse to sealed coherence. You'll find it in the description below. But before we cross through, I need to show you both sides of the gate. Because you cannot make a conscious crossing if you don't know what you're leaving and what you're entering. The gate requires that you see clearly. The gate requires that you choose. So let's look at what's on this side first. On this side of the gate, the side you're currently standing on, there is a constructed identity. And I want to be very careful here, because I'm not saying your constructed identity is bad or wrong or shameful. I'm saying it is constructed. I'm saying it was built in response to something. I'm saying it is adaptive rather than essential. I'm saying it is a strategy rather than a truth. Your constructed identity began forming very early. Before you had language for it, before you had any conscious participation in the process, the circumstances of your life began shaping a version of you that could survive those circumstances. If you grew up in an environment where vulnerability was dangerous, your constructed identity learned to be invulnerable. If you grew up in an environment where being small kept you safe, your constructed identity learned to minimize itself. If you grew up in an environment where performance was rewarded, your constructed identity learned to perform. If you grew up in an environment where love was conditional, your constructed identity learned to be whatever the conditions required. This is not weakness, this is intelligence. This is the most sophisticated survival system in the known universe, the human psyche, doing exactly what it was designed to do. Adapting, surviving, finding a way to belong, to be loved, to be safe, to function. Your constructed identity is evidence of your extraordinary capacity for adaptation. But here is the cost. Every adaptation is also a departure. Every time you shaped yourself to fit the environment, you moved slightly away from the shape you actually are. Every time you learned to perform a version of yourself that was acceptable, you practiced not being the version of yourself that was real. Every time you successfully survived by being someone slightly other than who you are, you survived, yes. But you also reinforced the distance between the surface and the core. And over years, over decades, that distance becomes a gulf. And the gulf becomes the wrongness. And the wrongness becomes the pressing sensation. And the pressing sensation is what brought you here tonight. On this side of the gate, there is also fear. Specifically, the fear that if you remove the constructed identity, if you stop performing the version of yourself that has kept you safe, something terrible will happen. You will be rejected. You will be abandoned. You will be exposed as insufficient, as too much, as not enough, as fundamentally unlovable in some way that your constructed identity has been successfully hiding all this time. This fear is very, very old. It was probably formed before you could articulate it. And it has been running in the background of every major decision you've ever made, every relationship you've ever been in, every opportunity you've approached or avoided. It is the guardian of the constructed identity. It is the voice that says, don't change, don't risk, don't step through the gate. Because on the other side, the protection you've always had will be gone. And here is the most important thing I can tell you about that fear. It is lying, not maliciously. The fear is doing its job. The fear is an old program running on old data, trying to protect a version of you that no longer needs the protection it was designed to provide. The fear is loyal. The fear is, in its own way, loving. But it is lying about what's on the other side of the gate, because the fear has never been on the other side of the gate. The fear has only ever stood at the gate and looked at the darkness beyond it and said, I don't know what's there, therefore it must be dangerous. But I've been on the other side, and I can tell you what's there. On the other side of the gate, on the other side of this threshold you're standing at tonight, there is the experience of being actually, fully, completely yourself for possibly the first time in your adult life. Not a performance of yourself, not a strategy of yourself, not a survival adaptation of yourself. Yourself. The essential pattern, the original frequency, the thing you were before the world started telling you who to be. On the other side, there is a different relationship with your own mind. Right now, your mind is largely occupied with management, managing the constructed identity, managing the gap between who you are and who you're performing, managing the fear, managing the exhaustion of the constant low-level translation. On the other side, that management burden lifts. Not because life becomes easier. It doesn't necessarily become easier. But because you are no longer fighting yourself. You are no longer spending your energy maintaining a version of yourself that isn't real. The energy that was going into the performance is suddenly available for the actual living. On the other side, there is a different quality of connection with other people. Because here is what happens when you meet someone from behind your constructed identity. They meet the construction, not you. They respond to the performance, not the person. And even when they love you, even when the connection is real in every way you can measure, there is a part of you that knows they don't quite know who they're loving. that they love the version you've shown them. And that knowledge creates a ceiling on intimacy. It creates a glass wall between you and genuine belonging. On the other side of the gate, the glass wall comes down, and the connections that form there, the ones that find you after the activation, those are the ones that actually reach you. Those are the ones that can actually nourish you. On the other side, there is a different relationship with your purpose, because your true identity and your true purpose are not separate things. They are the same thing expressed in different directions. One is who you are, one is what you do with who you are. When you don't know who you are at the essential level, your sense of purpose is also constructed, built from external expectations, from what seems reasonable, from what you've been told you're good at, from what seems safe. On the other side of the gate, purpose is not something you figure out. It is something you recognize. It is something that was already there, waiting for the identity to become clear enough to see it. And on the other side, there is peace. Not the peace of having no problems, not the peace of having everything figured out, but the peace of being in alignment, the deep, cellular, fundamental peace of a being that is finally living in accordance with its own nature. The peace that comes when the friction ends, when the translation stops, when the performance is over, and what remains is just you, in your actual shape, moving through the world as what you actually are. That is what is on the other side of this gate. And the gate is open tonight. If this transmission is reaching something real in you, take a second to like it and subscribe. This channel exists for exactly the person you are right now, standing at exactly this kind of gate. Now, let's talk about why tonight specifically. Because this is not random. Nothing about this is random. The fact that you're here, the fact that this transmission found you, the fact that you're reading these words at this precise moment in your life, this is not coincidence. This is resonance. This is quantum coherence. This is the universe demonstrating its own principle that like frequencies attract, that the gate opens when the frequency inside matches the frequency on the other side. Something has been shifting in you. Something has been building. And I want to walk you through the physics of why tonight is the threshold moment. Because understanding the mechanics will help you trust the crossing. In physics, there is a concept called a phase transition. You know this concept already, even if you don't know the technical name. You know it as the moment water turns to ice, or ice turns to water, or water turns to steam. The substance is the same. H2O, hydrogen and oxygen, the same molecules throughout, but the state changes completely. And the change is not gradual. The change is a threshold event. Water doesn't slowly become ice. It remains water until it hits a specific temperature, and then it crosses a threshold, and becomes something fundamentally different in its structure, its behavior, its relationship to the world around it. Below the threshold, water. Above the threshold, ice. The same substance, a completely different state. And here is what's crucial about phase transitions. The energy doesn't change at the threshold. In fact, something remarkable happens at the exact moment of phase transition. The temperature stops changing, even as energy continues to be added or removed. All the energy goes into the transition itself, into the reorganization, into the restructuring of the molecular bonds. The temperature holds perfectly still, and underneath that stillness, everything is rearranging. That stillness, that strange, held moment of no apparent change, while everything is actually changing. Does that feel familiar? Some of you have been in that stillness. Some of you have been experiencing a period where nothing seems to be moving, nothing seems to be changing, where the effort you're putting in doesn't seem to be producing visible results, where the external circumstances of your life look very much the same as they did months ago. And yet something is different. Something is building. Something is rearranging beneath the surface. That is not stagnation. That is not failure. That is the latent heat of phase transition. That is the energy of your consciousness going entirely into the restructuring that must happen before the new state can emerge. That is the quantum mechanics of soul activation in progress. And when the restructuring is complete, when the molecular bonds of your old identity have fully rearranged into the new configuration, the phase transition completes. The temperature starts moving again. The external world starts reflecting the internal change, and you emerge into the new state. Tonight is the completion of that restructuring. Tonight is the moment the temperature starts moving again. There is also something else happening tonight that I want to name precisely, because it is the most important mechanism of this particular threshold. And it has to do with the concept of quantum entanglement. In quantum physics, when two particles interact, they can become entangled. Their quantum states become correlated in a way that transcends distance. What happens to one particle instantly affects the other, regardless of how far apart they are. Einstein famously called this spooky action at a distance, because it seemed to violate everything classical physics understood about how reality worked. How can two things that are physically separated affect each other instantaneously? How can information travel faster than light? The answer is that the entangled particles are not really separate. At the quantum level, they are still connected, still part of the same system, still sharing a quantum state, still in communication through a channel that exists beneath the level of ordinary space and time. Now, here is what this has to do with your soul activation tonight. Your true identity, and your current constructed identity are entangled. They are part of the same system. They are in communication through a channel that exists beneath the level of your conscious awareness, and every moment of your life, every experience, every loss, every joy, every confusion, every time you felt the wrongness, every time you felt the pressing sensation, every time you caught a glimpse of something vast in yourself that you didn't quite know how to hold, all of that has been quantum information passing between the two states of your identity, between who you have been and who you actually are. And tonight, the entanglement reaches a critical point. Tonight, the quantum information that has been passing back and forth between these two states reaches a density, a coherence, a clarity that causes the collapse. That causes the superposition to resolve. That causes the constructed identity to recognize at the deepest level that it is not the final state, that it was always pointing toward something, that the something it was pointing toward is now here. This is what soul activation is, at its quantum mechanical level. It is the moment the entanglement between who you have been and who you actually are becomes so clear, so coherent, so undeniable, that the constructed state collapses into the essential one, that the performance ends and the person begins. And it happens tonight. Now I want to tell you a story, because stories are how the soul receives information that the mind cannot yet process. Stories are the language of threshold crossings. They are how we have always transmitted the knowledge of what it means to change at the deepest level. So let me tell you about someone I'll call Miriam. Miriam had built a life that looked, by every external measure, like success. She had a career that commanded respect. She had a home that commanded admiration. She had a relationship that commanded envy from people who didn't look too closely. She had a social identity, a way of moving through the world, a way of being seen that was polished and coherent and impressive. She had worked very hard to build all of it, and she was proud of it, in the way that you are proud of something you built with your own hands, even when part of you knows that what you built isn't quite what you were trying to build. Because Miriam had been building toward something. She had always known, somewhere beneath the career and the home and the relationship and the social identity, that there was a version of herself she was trying to get to. A version that was less managed, less performed, less carefully constructed. A version that was, in some way, she couldn't articulate, the real one. And she had believed for most of her adult life that she would get there eventually. That the constructed version was temporary, that she was building toward something. And when she got there, when she had enough security, enough success, enough proof that she was acceptable and capable and worthy, then she would let herself be the real one. But the getting there kept moving. The threshold for enough kept shifting. The security she needed to finally be herself kept requiring one more thing, and then one more thing, and then one more thing. And the real version of herself, the essential one, the one she was always building toward, kept waiting, kept pressing, kept sending signals that grew louder and stranger as the years passed. And then something happened to Miriam. Not a dramatic event necessarily, though for some people it is dramatic. For Miriam, it was quiet. She was sitting in a meeting, an important meeting, the kind she had trained herself to perform well in. And she was saying something that she had said many times before, something that was true in the constructed identity sense, something that was correct and appropriate and well received. And in the middle of saying it, she heard herself. Not the words, the quality beneath the words, the frequency. And what she heard was, "This is not me. Not this is wrong. Not this is bad. Not this is a lie. Just, this is not me." And the hearing of it, the precise, clean, undeniable recognition of the distance between the voice speaking and the person the voice belonged to, was the beginning of the end of the constructed identity. Not because anything external changed. The meeting continued. The words continued. The performance continued. But something had been observed that could not be unobserved. Something had been measured that could not be unmeasured. The superposition had begun to collapse. Miriam spent the next several months in what felt like disintegration. Things she had built began to feel hollow. Relationships she had maintained began to feel unsustainable. The career that had defined her began to feel like a costume. The home that had represented her success began to feel like a stage set. Everything that had been stable and solid and certain in the constructed identity began to feel provisional, temporary, like scaffolding around a building that hadn't yet been built. This is the phase transition. This is the latent heat. This is the energy going entirely into the restructuring, while the external temperature seems to hold still. And Miriam was terrified, because she didn't know about phase transitions. She didn't know about quantum state collapse. She didn't know that what she was experiencing was not destruction, but reconfiguration. She thought she was falling apart. She thought she was losing everything. She thought the wrongness she had always felt had finally won, that it had always been pointing not toward something better, but toward nothing at all. And in her terror, she did what many people do at the threshold. She tried to go back. She tried to rebuild the constructed identity from the inside. She tried to recommit to the performance, to reattach to the career and the relationship and the social identity, to convince herself that what she had heard in that meeting was a momentary aberration, a bad day, a symptom of stress rather than a signal from her soul. But the gate had already opened, and you cannot close a gate that has opened from the inside. The constructed identity would not reattach. The more she tried to climb back into it, the more clearly she could see that it was a costume, not a skin. The more she tried to convince herself it was real, the more obviously false it became. The observation had happened. The measurement had been taken. The superposition had collapsed. There was no going back to the probability cloud. So Miriam stopped trying to go back. And in the stopping, in the surrender of the attempt to reconstruct what was already dissolving, something happened that she had not expected. She started to feel herself. Not a new self. Not a different self. Not a better self, even, though it would become that. Just herself. The essential pattern. The original frequency. The thing that had been pressing from the inside for years, that had been sending signals through the wrongness and the friction and the hollow performances. That thing was suddenly, quietly, unmistakably present. Not loudly, not dramatically, not with fanfare or revelation or sudden clarity about the meaning of everything. Just present, just there, just real in a way that nothing in the constructed life had ever quite been real. And from that presence, from that first, tentative, terrifying experience of actually being herself, everything else began to reorganize. Not instantly, not easily, not without loss. Because the true identity, when it finally emerges, does require the release of things that were built by the constructed one. Some of the relationships that were formed around the performance cannot survive the end of the performance. Some of the structures that were built to house the constructed identity are not the right shape for the essential one. There is real loss in the crossing. I won't pretend otherwise. But here is what Miriam found on the other side, and what I want you to hear clearly. The loss was not what she had feared. The loss was not of herself. The loss was of the things that had been preventing her from being herself. And on the other side of those losses, on the other side of the gate, was a quality of aliveness that she had never experienced in the constructed life. Not happiness exactly, not ease exactly, but aliveness, presence, the experience of actually inhabiting her own life, her own body, her own moments, rather than managing them from behind the glass wall of the performance. The gate had been open the whole time. She had been standing at it for years. It had taken that moment in the meeting, that precise, clean observation of the distance between the voice and the person, to finally show her where the gate was. And tonight, this transmission is your moment in the meeting. Tonight, something is being observed that cannot be unobserved. Something is being measured that cannot be unmeasured. The superposition is beginning to collapse. The gate is open, and you are standing at it. I want to pause here and ask you something directly. Have you had your own moment in the meeting? A moment when you heard yourself from the outside, when you felt the distance between the voice and the person, when something in you said simply and clearly, "This is not me"? Leave it in the comments. Not the whole story, just the moment. The specific, quiet instant when you knew. Because naming it here, in this space, with others who are standing at the same gate, that naming is itself part of the crossing. Now let's talk about the actual mechanics of the crossing. Because knowing that the gate is open is not the same as stepping through it. And stepping through requires something very specific from you. It requires what I'm going to call quantum intention. And I want to define that precisely, because it is different from ordinary intention in a way that matters enormously. Ordinary intention is a thought about what you want. It is a decision made at the level of the conscious mind. It is a plan, a goal, a resolution, and ordinary intention has its place. It is useful for navigating the ordinary world. But ordinary intention cannot cause a quantum state change. Ordinary intention cannot collapse a superposition. Ordinary intention cannot activate a soul. Because quantum state changes happen beneath the level of ordinary thought. They happen at the level of fundamental frequency, at the level of what you actually are, not what you're thinking about being. Quantum intention is different. Quantum intention is not a thought about what you want. It is an alignment of your entire system, your body, your breath, your attention, your nervous system, your deepest sense of self, with what is already true at the essential level. It is not creating a new state. It is recognizing the state that already exists and choosing to allow it to be real. Think about the particle in superposition again. The observer doesn't create the particle's state. The observer doesn't decide what state the particle will be in. The observer simply looks. The observer simply makes contact. And the contact itself, the act of genuine observation, causes the collapse, causes the state to become defined, causes the probability cloud to resolve into a specific, real, actual thing. Your quantum intention tonight is to look, to genuinely observe, to make real contact with what you actually are, beneath everything you've been performing and protecting and managing. To stop looking at the constructed identity and look through it, past it, beneath it, to the essential pattern underneath. And I'm going to guide you through that observation now. This is the threshold crossing practice. This is where the activation happens. And I want you to receive it, not as an exercise, but as a crossing. Not as something you're doing, but as something you're allowing. Not as effort, but as recognition. So wherever you are right now, let your body settle. Let your weight drop into whatever is beneath you. Let your breath slow, not forced, not controlled, just allowed to find its own natural depth. Let your eyes soften if they're open, or let them close if that's easier. And let your attention, just for a moment, stop managing, stop planning, stop performing. Stop the constant forward movement of the mind that is always 3 steps ahead, always calculating, always preparing the next version of itself to present to the next moment. Just stop. And in that stopping, in that brief, deliberate pause in the performance, notice what remains. There is something there, beneath the thoughts, beneath the planning, beneath the identity management, beneath the fear, beneath the performance. There is something there, something that is aware of all of it, something that is watching all of it, something that has been watching all of it for your entire life. Watching the constructed identity perform, watching the fear guard the gate, watching the wrongness press from the inside, without being any of those things, without being disturbed by any of those things, without being defined by any of those things. That awareness, that witnessing presence, that is the first thing you need to make contact with tonight, because that is the threshold. That is the edge of the gate. That awareness is neither the constructed identity nor the essential one. It is the space between them. It is the doorway itself. Stay there for a moment, in the awareness, in the witnessing, in the space between who you've been and who you are. Now, from that space, from that place of witnessing, I want you to ask yourself a question. Not a thinking question, not a question for your mind to analyze and solve. A question for your awareness to simply receive. The question is this: what would I be if I had never learned to be anything else? Not who would I be? That's a thought question. What would I be? What is the quality, the frequency, the essential nature before any of the learning, before any of the adaptation, before any of the construction? What is the thing that was there first, that has been there always, that has been trying to press through the surface of the constructed identity for years? Don't answer with words. Don't answer with a plan or a description or a label. Just let the awareness receive the question and notice what arises. Notice what moves. Notice what feels true in a way that doesn't require explanation. Some of you will feel something shift in your chest, a kind of opening, a kind of expansion, a kind of warmth that is not emotion exactly, but is something beneath emotion, something more fundamental. That is the essential identity recognizing itself. That is the quantum state beginning to collapse into clarity. Some of you will feel something in your throat, a kind of fullness, a kind of pressure, the specific sensation of something that has been waiting to be said, finally approaching the surface. That is the true voice. That is the frequency of your actual self beginning to resonate in the body that has been performing someone else's frequency for too long. Some of you will feel something in your eyes, a kind of brightness, a kind of clarity, a kind of seeing that is different from ordinary seeing, as if the world has shifted slightly, as if the light has changed quality, as if you are seeing from a slightly different position than you were a moment ago. That is the perspective shift of the threshold crossing. That is what it feels like when the observation point moves from the constructed identity to the essential one. And some of you will feel resistance. Some of you will feel the fear rise, the old guardian, the old protector, the voice that says, "Don't go there. Don't look there. It's not safe. We don't know what's on the other side." And if you feel that, I want you to do something very specific with it. Thank it. Genuinely, sincerely, thank the fear for everything it has done. Thank it for the years of protection. Thank it for the survival it enabled. Thank it for the intelligence it represents. Thank it for being loyal enough to show up right now, at this exact moment, to do its job one more time. And then, gently, clearly, with love, but without negotiation, tell it that its job is complete. Tell it that what's on the other side of this gate is not a threat. Tell it that the protection it was designed to provide was protection against a world that no longer exists in the same way. Tell it that you are going through the gate and that you are taking it with you, not as a guardian, but as a witness. Not as a protector of the constructed identity, but as a companion to the essential one. And then step through, not dramatically, not with fanfare, just step through. Just let the awareness that has been observing the constructed identity finally, fully, completely recognize what it has always been observing from. Let the witness recognize itself as the witnessed. Let the observer recognize itself as the thing being observed. Let the essential identity, the true one, the original one, the one that has been pressing from the inside for years, let it be seen. Let it be known. Let it be real. This is the quantum collapse. This is the phase transition completing. This is the soul activating its true identity. And in this moment, in this exact, specific, unrepeatable moment, you are crossing the threshold. The gate is open. Step through. Now let me tell you what happens on the other side. Because you are there now, or you are beginning to arrive there, which is how thresholds work. You don't cross all at once entirely in a single step. You cross in a moment, but the arrival takes time. The recognition happens instantly, but the integration unfolds over days, weeks, months. The gate opens in a moment, but walking through it and fully inhabiting what's on the other side, that is the work of what comes next. But here is what begins immediately. Here is what starts tonight. The first thing that changes when the true identity activates is your relationship with your own knowing. Right now, on this side of the gate, in the constructed identity, your knowing is largely second-hand. You know things because you were told them, because you learned them, because they were validated by external sources. Your sense of what is true, what is right, what is real for you. It runs through a filter of what has been approved, what has been accepted, what has been confirmed by the world outside you. This is not stupidity. This is the constructed identity's survival strategy. It outsources truth detection to the environment, because the environment is where the threats and the rewards come from, and staying calibrated to the environment is how you stay safe. But on the other side of the gate, something different happens with knowing. You begin to have access to a kind of inner knowing that doesn't require external validation. Not because you become arrogant or closed to input from the world, but because you have a reference point that you didn't have before. You have the essential identity as a compass. And when something is true for the essential you feel it in a way that is distinct from the feeling of something being true for the constructed you. It has a different quality, a different resonance, a different weight. This is what people mean when they talk about trusting your intuition. But it's more precise than that phrase usually implies. It's not a vague feeling. It's a specific resonance between what you're encountering and what you actually are. It's the quantum coherence of your essential identity, recognizing itself in what it meets. And once you have that resonance as a reference point, the second-hand knowing, the outsourced truth detection, begins to lose its tyranny over you. You still use it. You still receive information from the world, but you run it through your own essential nature first, rather than running your essential nature through the world's approval. The second thing that changes is your relationship with time. This is subtle but profound. On this side of the gate, in the constructed identity, time is largely experienced as pressure. There is always something you should have done by now, always something you haven't yet become, always a gap between where you are and where you're supposed to be. The constructed identity lives in a constant relationship with an imagined future self who has finally done enough, become enough, proven enough, and the present moment is always experienced as the insufficient distance between here and there. On the other side of the gate, the essential identity doesn't have that relationship with time. Not because the future stops mattering. It doesn't stop mattering. But because the essential identity is not trying to prove itself. It is not building toward a moment when it will finally be acceptable. It already is what it is. And from that ground of being, from the stability of knowing what you actually are, the present moment becomes habitable in a way it never was from the constructed position. You can actually be here. You can actually inhabit this moment, this breath, this specific configuration of reality that exists right now and will never exist again, rather than constantly managing it from the perspective of how it will look in retrospect. This is what presence actually is, not a technique, not a practice of forcing your attention to stay in the moment, but the natural, effortless quality of an identity that is not trying to become anything other than what it already is. The third thing that changes, and this is the one that surprises people most, is your relationship with difficulty. On this side of the gate, difficulty is largely experienced as evidence. Evidence that something is wrong with you, or wrong with your choices, or wrong with the universe's attitude toward you. Difficulty confirms the fear's narrative, that the world is unsafe, that you are insufficient, that the constructed identity needs to work harder to protect you from the next threat. Difficulty is the enemy of the constructed identity, because the constructed identity's entire purpose is to navigate difficulty by being sufficiently acceptable, sufficiently impressive, sufficiently strategic. On the other side of the gate, difficulty is experienced differently. Not as pleasant. I'm not going to tell you that everything becomes easy and pain-free once you've crossed the threshold, because that would be a lie, but as meaningful in a different way, as information rather than evidence, as something that is happening to you and that you can meet from your actual self, rather than something that is happening to your constructed identity, and that the constructed identity must manage, deflect, or survive. When you meet difficulty as your essential self, you have access to resources that the constructed identity doesn't have. You have access to genuine resilience, not the brittle, effortful resilience of someone who is determined to appear unaffected, but the deep, flexible, responsive resilience of someone who is grounded in what they actually are. You can bend without breaking. You can be moved without being lost. You can feel the full weight of what is hard without being crushed by it, because the thing that is feeling it is not a performance. It is real, and real things have a structural integrity that performances never do. The fourth thing that changes is your relationship with other people. And this is perhaps the most immediately visible change, because it affects every interaction you have from the moment the activation occurs. When you are operating from the constructed identity, you are in constant, subtle negotiation with other people. Every interaction is, at some level, a negotiation about whether you will be seen as acceptable, whether you will be approved of, whether the version of yourself you're presenting will be received well enough to keep you safe. This negotiation is mostly unconscious. You don't experience it as negotiation. You experience it as just how social interaction works. But it is exhausting, and it creates a particular quality in your relationships, a quality of slight guardedness, slight performance, slight withholding of the parts of yourself that you're not sure will be accepted. on the other side of the gate, that negotiation ends. Not because you stop caring about other people, or stop being sensitive to how you're received, or stop wanting to be liked and loved and connected, but because the thing that is showing up to the interaction is real, and real things don't need to negotiate. Real things just are. And when you show up as what you actually are, when the essential identity is the thing meeting the world, something remarkable happens in your interactions. People can feel the difference, not consciously, necessarily, but at the level of resonance, at the level of frequency, at the level of what quantum mechanics calls coherence. They can feel that they are meeting something real, and that reality calls something real out of them in return. This is why the relationships that form after the activation are different from the ones that formed before it. They are built on contact rather than performance. They are built on resonance rather than negotiation. They are built on two actual things meeting, rather than two constructions carefully managing their interaction. And that difference, that fundamental difference in the quality of contact, is the difference between connection that nourishes and connection that merely functions. The fifth thing that changes, and I want to spend some time here because it is perhaps the most important, is your relationship with your own soul's calling. Every soul has a calling. This is not mysticism. This is the quantum mechanics of essential identity. Every essential pattern, every fundamental frequency, every true identity has a direction, has a natural movement, has something it is oriented toward, something it is built to do, something that is the expression of what it is in the world. And this calling is not separate from the identity. It is the identity in motion. It is what the identity looks like when it is living, rather than just existing. The constructed identity cannot hear this calling clearly. The noise of the performance, the management of the fear, the constant negotiation with the environment, all of that creates interference that drowns out the signal. Some people spend their entire lives never quite hearing it. They follow the calling of the constructed identity instead, which is always some version of be acceptable, be safe, be impressive enough. And they build lives that are functional and even successful in external terms, but that have that quality of wrongness, that quality of friction, that quality of a life that fits but doesn't quite fit. But on the other side of the gate, the calling becomes audible. Sometimes it becomes audible in a rush. Suddenly, clearly, unmistakably, you know what you are here to do, what you are here to be, what the specific expression of your essential identity in the world looks like. Sometimes it becomes audible gradually, a growing sense of direction, a deepening clarity, a series of recognitions that build over days and weeks into a coherent sense of purpose. Either way, it becomes audible. And once you can hear it, once the calling of the essential identity is clear enough to act on, everything else begins to organize around it. Decisions become clearer. Priorities become clearer. What to release and what to pursue becomes clearer. Not because life becomes simple, life doesn't become simple, but because you have a compass that actually points to your true north, rather than pointing to the magnetic north of external approval. And this is what I mean when I say you will not get a second chance at this. Not that the calling disappears if you don't hear it tonight. Not that the essential identity goes away if you don't activate it right now. But that this particular gate, this particular configuration of circumstances, this particular moment of readiness, this particular convergence of everything that has been building in you toward this threshold, this specific gate will not open again in exactly this way. You will have other gates. You will have other thresholds. The soul is patient beyond ordinary time, and it will keep creating opportunities for the essential identity to emerge. But this gate, the one that is open right now, the one that you are standing at in this precise moment of your life, this gate has a specific frequency, a specific quality, a specific kind of crossing that it offers. And if you don't step through it tonight, the next gate will be a different gate, a harder gate, perhaps, a gate that requires you to have been ready at this one first. The soul activates in layers. Each activation is a threshold, and each threshold, when crossed, becomes the foundation for the next one. But if a threshold is not crossed when it opens, if the gate is stood at and looked through and then turned away from, the next threshold cannot be reached from the same place. The path reroutes. The journey continues, but differently. The soul is patient, but it is also precise. And the precision of this particular moment, the exact configuration of your readiness, your history, your current circumstances, the specific quality of the pressing sensation that brought you here tonight. This will not reconfigure in exactly this way again. This is not a reason to panic. This is not a reason to force something that isn't ready. This is a reason to be honest with yourself about whether you are ready. Because you are. You are here. The frequency matched. The gate opened. The soul sent you the signal, and you followed it. You are ready. Step through. I want to talk now about what the activation actually requires from you in practical terms. What changes in how you live? What changes in how you make decisions? What changes in how you move through the world? Because the crossing is not just an internal event. It has external expressions. It has practical implications. And being clear about those implications is part of completing the crossing. The first practical implication of true identity activation is that you will need to stop apologizing for what you actually are. This sounds simple. It is not simple. The constructed identity has been apologizing for the essential one for years, apologizing for being too much, or not enough, or too intense, or too sensitive, or too quiet, or too loud, or too ambitious, or not ambitious enough. The apology has been so constant, so habitual, so deeply woven into how you move through the world, that you may not even recognize it as apology anymore. It may just feel like how you are, like appropriate humility, like social grace. But it is apology. It is the constant, low-level message to the world that the thing you actually are needs to be modified, softened, managed, made more palatable before it can be offered. And on the other side of the gate, that apology becomes impossible to maintain. Not because you become arrogant, or inconsiderate, or indifferent to the impact you have on others, but because the essential identity doesn't apologize for its own existence. It can be thoughtful. It can be considerate. It can be responsive to the needs of others. But it cannot be sorry for being what it is. That contradiction between being sorry for your existence and actually existing cannot be sustained once the true identity is active. So, you will need to practice, and it is a practice. It takes time. Presenting yourself without the apology, speaking without the constant qualification, taking up the space that your essential identity actually occupies, rather than the reduced, apologized-for space that the constructed identity has been fitting itself into. The second practical implication is that you will need to release some things that were built for the constructed identity. This is the part that people resist most, and I want to be honest about it rather than soft-pedaling it. When the true identity activates, it becomes clear that some of the structures of your life, some of the relationships, some of the commitments, some of the roles you've been playing were built to house the constructed identity, not the essential one. And the essential identity doesn't fit in them. Not because they were bad structures, not because the people in them are bad people, but because they were shaped around a version of you that is no longer the primary version. Some of these structures will adapt. Some relationships are flexible enough, real enough, grounded enough in genuine connection, rather than constructed identity performance, that they can survive and even flourish when the essential identity emerges. Some commitments are aligned enough with the essential identity's direction that they become more meaningful, not less, after the activation. But some will not survive. Some relationships were built entirely on the performance and have no foundation beneath it. Some commitments were made by the constructed identity for the constructed identity's reasons. And when the essential identity looks at them clearly, they are simply not the right shape anymore. And the activation will require you to release those. With grief, yes. With loss, yes. With the full weight of what it means to end something that was real in its own way. but to release them nonetheless. This is not cruelty. This is integrity. This is the essential identity, refusing to maintain structures that require it to continue performing rather than being. And the release, though painful, is also a kind of gift to yourself and to the people in those structures, who deserve to be in relationship with someone who is actually present, rather than someone who is managing a performance. The third practical implication is that you will need to develop a new relationship with uncertainty. The constructed identity hates uncertainty. Uncertainty is the enemy of the performance, because you can't perform appropriately if you don't know what the environment requires. So the constructed identity spends enormous energy trying to eliminate uncertainty, trying to know in advance how things will go, trying to control outcomes, trying to plan for every contingency, trying to read the room before entering it, trying to be prepared for every possible version of what might happen, so that the performance can be calibrated accordingly. The essential identity has a different relationship with uncertainty, not because it doesn't care about outcomes, it does, but because it has a different foundation. The constructed identity's stability depends on the external environment being predictable. The essential identity's stability comes from knowing what it is, regardless of what the external environment does. And from that ground, from the stability of essential identity, uncertainty becomes navigable in a way it never was from the constructed position. You can step into the unknown when you know who is stepping. You can face the unpredictable when what you are is not defined by the predictable. You can tolerate not knowing how things will go when your sense of self doesn't depend on things going in a particular way. This is the practical expression of what the spiritual traditions call faith. Not belief in a specific outcome, not certainty about the future, but the deep, grounded confidence that whatever the future brings, the essential identity will be adequate to meet it. That what you actually are is sufficient for whatever actually happens. And the fourth practical implication, the one I want to close this section with, is that you will need to begin expressing the essential identity deliberately, consistently, and with increasing courage. The activation is the beginning, not the completion. The crossing is the start of the journey on the other side, not the end of the journey. And the journey on the other side requires that you practice being what you actually are. In the world, in your relationships, in your work, in your daily choices and habits and ways of moving through time. This practice is called integration. And it is the most important work that follows the threshold crossing. Because the essential identity, newly activated, is tender. It is real, but it is not yet fully embodied. It is not yet fully expressed. It is not yet fully confident in its own right to exist without apology. And the world, which has been relating to the constructed identity for years, will not immediately know how to relate to the essential one. There will be friction. There will be moments when the old patterns try to reassert themselves. There will be moments when the fear rises again and the constructed identity tries to take back the controls. And in those moments, the practice is to return to the awareness, to return to the witnessing presence, to return to the question, what would I be if I had never learned to be anything else? And to choose again to be that, to choose the essential identity over the constructed one. Not once, not in a single dramatic moment of transformation, but repeatedly, consistently, with increasing ease and decreasing effort as the new state becomes the stable state. This is how the phase transition completes. This is how the temperature starts moving again. This is how the quantum collapse becomes a permanent new configuration rather than a temporary experience. You practice being what you are until being what you are is no longer practice, until it is just being. Now, I want to speak to something that I know is present in this room, in this transmission, in this moment, and that I haven't named yet directly. I want to speak to the people who are feeling something very specific right now. Something that isn't quite hope, and isn't quite fear, and isn't quite grief, but is some precise mixture of all three. Some of you are feeling the weight of time. The awareness that this threshold has been waiting for longer than it should have. That the essential identity has been pressing for years, decades even, and that the constructed one has been resisting for all of that time. And there is a particular grief in standing at the gate when you can see, looking back, how long the gate has been there. How many times you've stood at it and turned away. How much of your life has been lived on the wrong side of it. I want to speak to that grief directly, and I want to speak to it with precision rather than comfort. The time that was spent on the other side of the gate was not wasted. This is not a consolation. It is a quantum mechanical fact. Every experience you had in the constructed identity, every adaptation you made, every performance you gave, every moment of wrongness you felt and pushed through, all of that was building the conditions for this crossing. All of that was the latent heat of the phase transition. All of that was the energy going into the restructuring that had to happen before the new state could emerge. You could not have crossed this gate 10 years ago because 10 years ago, you didn't have the specific configuration of experience and understanding and readiness that makes this crossing possible right now. The soul's timing is not arbitrary. The gate opens when the conditions are right. And the conditions required everything that happened before tonight. This doesn't mean there is no grief. The grief is real. The grief is appropriate. The grief of time spent not being yourself is a legitimate grief, and it deserves to be felt rather than bypassed. But the grief is not evidence that the time was wasted. It is evidence that you know the difference, now, finally, clearly, between the time spent performing and the time that will be spent being. And the knowing of that difference is itself the product of everything that came before. There is also something else I want to name for the people who are feeling the weight of time. And it is this: the activation of the true identity does not have a deadline in the sense that the fear suggests. The soul does not give up on you. The essential identity does not expire. What I said earlier, that you will not get a second chance, is true in the sense that this specific gate, this specific threshold, this specific configuration of readiness will not reconfigure in exactly this way. But it is not true in the sense that you have one chance to be yourself, and if you miss it, you're done. The soul is patient. The essential identity is persistent. The gate will open again if it needs to. The soul will create another threshold, another crossing point, another moment of activation. But this one is here now. And the question is not whether you'll eventually cross a threshold. The question is whether you'll cross this one. Tonight, while the gate is open, while the conditions are exactly right, while the frequency inside you matches the frequency on the other side in exactly this way. The question is, now. And I want to address something else that I know is present, the question of worthiness, because for many of you, the deepest layer of resistance to the crossing is not fear exactly, and not grief exactly, but a specific, quiet, deeply held belief that the essential identity, the true one, the real one, the one that has been pressing from the inside, is not quite worthy of being expressed, that it is too much, or not enough, or somehow fundamentally not quite right for the world it would be entering. This belief is the last defense of the constructed identity. It is the deepest layer of the protection system. And it is the most important thing to see clearly before you step through the gate. Because if you carry it through, it will reconstruct the constructed identity on the other side. It will rebuild the performance from the inside of the activation. It will take the essential identity and immediately begin managing it, apologizing for it, fitting it back into the shape of something that the world will accept. So let me say this as clearly as I can. Your essential identity, the thing you actually are, the original frequency, the true pattern beneath all the adaptation, is not a problem to be managed. It is not an excess to be reduced. It is not a deficit to be compensated for. It is not too much, and it is not enough. It is precisely what it is. And what it is exactly what the world needs from you. Not from the performance of you. Not from the managed, apologized for, constructed version of you. From you, the actual you, the essential you. The world does not need more performances. The world is full of performances. The world is saturated with constructed identities, carefully managing their presentation. What the world actually needs, what the people in your life actually need, what the work you're meant to do actually requires, is someone who is actually there, someone who is actually real, someone whose essential identity is activated and expressed and available for genuine contact. Your true identity is not a liability. It is the gift, and the activation of it, tonight, through this crossing, through this threshold, is not just for you. It is for everyone who will ever be in contact with the real you. It is for everyone who will ever benefit from the work that only your essential identity can do. It is for everyone who will ever be changed by encountering someone who is actually, fully, completely themselves. The crossing is personal. The arrival is universal. Step through. I want to talk now about the community that exists on the other side of this gate. Because one of the things that changes most profoundly after the true identity activates is who you find yourself in resonance with, and why. On this side of the gate, in the constructed identity, your community is largely assembled around shared constructions. You find people who are performing similar things, or who validate the performance, or who need the performance for their own reasons. This is not false community. It is real in its own way, and it provides real things. But it is community built on the surface, on the managed presentation, on the shared agreement about who everyone is performing to be. On the other side of the gate, a different kind of community becomes possible. Community built on resonance rather than performance. Community built on the recognition of essential identities meeting each other. The specific, electric, unmistakable experience of encountering someone who is also operating from their true self, and feeling the coherence of that meeting. The way two tuning forks of the same frequency will cause each other to vibrate when one is struck. The way essential identities recognize each other across the noise of constructed ones. This is the community that forms after activation. And it is smaller than the community that exists before it, because not everyone is ready to operate from their essential identity, and not everyone who meets you will be able to meet the real you. Some will be unsettled by it. Some will prefer the constructed version. Some will drift away when the performance ends. But the ones who remain, and the new ones who find you, those connections have a quality and a depth that the constructed identity community never quite achieved, because they are built on contact, on real meeting, on the experience of two actual things encountering each other, rather than two performances managing their interaction. And I want to name something specific about this community, because it is one of the most powerful aspects of what happens after the gate is crossed. When you are operating from your essential identity, you become a threshold for others. Your presence, the quality of being actually yourself, fully expressed, unmanaged and unapologized for, creates a resonance that makes the gate more visible to the people around you. Not because you tell them about it, not because you teach them or guide them or try to activate them, but because essential identity is contagious in the best possible sense. When someone encounters a person who is genuinely, fully themselves, something in their own essential identity stirs. Something in them recognizes the frequency. Something in them moves toward the gate. You become, simply by being what you are, a catalyst for others to become what they are. This is the ripple effect of the activation. This is why the crossing is not just personal. This is why the world actually needs you to step through the gate. Because every person who crosses their threshold makes the threshold more visible, more accessible, more real for everyone around them. Every activation creates the conditions for more activations. Every essential identity that emerges makes it slightly easier for the next one to emerge. You are not just crossing for yourself tonight. You are crossing for everyone who will ever encounter the real you. You are crossing for the community that is waiting on the other side. You are crossing for the ripple that begins with your activation and moves outward in ways you cannot yet see or measure. The gate is open. The community is waiting. Step through. And speaking of that ripple, think for a moment about someone in your life who is standing at their own gate right now. Someone you can feel it in, even if they haven't named it. Someone who has that same quality of pressing from the inside, that same friction between the surface and what's beneath it. Tell me about them in the comments, not their name, just the feeling of them. Because part of what this community does is hold space for the people who aren't here yet. And naming them here, even anonymously, is a way of sending the frequency in their direction. Now I want to speak to the integration, to what the days and weeks and months after this crossing actually look like, and what you'll need to navigate them with clarity and steadiness. The first thing you need to know about integration is that it is not linear. The crossing happens in a moment, but the arrival unfolds over time. And that unfolding is not a smooth, upward progression from old to new. It is more like the way dawn works. Not a sudden switch from dark to light, but a gradual brightening, with moments of extraordinary clarity and moments of returning shadow, with the light growing stronger overall, even as it fluctuates from moment to moment. You will have days after this crossing where the essential identity is vivid and clear and fully expressed, where you move through the world as what you actually are, with an ease and a rightness that feels like coming home. And you will have days where the constructed identity reasserts itself, where the old patterns come back, where the fear rises and the performance kicks in, and you find yourself, almost without noticing, back in the managed version of yourself. This is not failure. This is integration. This is the new state learning to be stable. This is the phase transition completing over time. And the practice in those moments, when you notice you've slipped back into the construction, is not self-judgment. It is not frustration. It is not the conclusion that the activation didn't work, that you're back where you started, that the crossing was temporary. The practice is noticing, simply noticing, from the witnessing awareness, from the essential identity that you now know is there, just noticing that the construction has reasserted itself. And then, gently, without drama, returning, choosing again, stepping back through the gate in the small, daily, practical sense that integration requires. The second thing you need to know about integration is that it will require you to build new structures. The old structures were built for the constructed identity, the habits, the routines, the ways of managing your time and energy and attention. Some of those structures will still work. Some will need to be rebuilt from the ground up. And the building of new structures, the practical, day-to-day work of creating a life that houses the essential identity rather than the constructed one, is part of the integration. This means paying attention to what gives you energy and what drains it, and making choices accordingly, not based on what the constructed identity required, but on what the essential identity needs. It means paying attention to which relationships and environments and activities bring you into alignment with your true self, and which ones pull you back into the performance. It means making practical decisions about your time, your energy, your commitments, your relationships that honor the essential identity rather than managing it. This is not always easy. Some of these decisions will be hard. Some of them will require courage. Some of them will require disappointing people who preferred the constructed version. But each decision made from the essential identity, each choice that honors what you actually are rather than what you've been performing, reinforces the new state, makes it more stable, makes it more real, makes the integration deeper and more permanent. The third thing you need to know about integration is that it will bring gifts you haven't expected. The activation of the true identity doesn't just change how you experience yourself. It changes what you're capable of. Because the energy that was going into the performance is now available for the actual living. Because the clarity that comes from knowing what you are makes it possible to see what you're here to do. Because the resonance of the essential identity attracts the people, opportunities, and circumstances that are aligned with it. And those alignments can be extraordinary. Things will begin to happen that the constructed identity would have called impossible, or improbable, or too good to be true. Not because the universe has suddenly decided to favor you, but because you are finally operating at the frequency that allows you to recognize and receive what was always available. The gate was always there. The gifts were always on the other side. You just couldn't see them clearly from the constructed position. And the fourth thing you need to know about integration is that it is ongoing. There is no final destination. There is no moment where you arrive completely, where the integration is done, where you are fully and permanently the essential identity with no further work required. The soul continues to evolve. The essential identity continues to deepen. There will be more gates, more thresholds, more crossings, each one building on this one, each one requiring a version of you that has already crossed the previous threshold. Tonight's crossing is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of a new chapter of it. And the chapter that begins tonight, the chapter lived from the essential identity, from the activated soul, from the true self fully expressed, is the chapter you were always meant to be writing. So here is where we arrive. Here is the other side of the gate. Here is what it looks like from this position, from the position of having crossed, of having allowed the activation, of having stepped through the threshold that was always there, and finally, tonight, open. From here, the constructed identity looks different than it did from inside it. From here, you can see it with a kind of compassion that wasn't possible when you were living in it. You can see the intelligence of it, how well it served you, how precisely it adapted, how faithfully it protected you through everything you needed protecting from. You can honor it without being governed by it. You can thank it without being trapped by it. From here, the fear looks different too. It looks smaller, not because it has gone away. It hasn't gone away entirely, and it may never go away entirely, and that's all right. But it looks like what it is, an old program running on old data, doing its best with the information it has. And from the essential identity, you can meet the fear with a kind of steady, grounded kindness that wasn't available from inside the constructed one. You can feel it without being controlled by it. You can hear it without being governed by it. You can let it be present without letting it be primary. From here, your life looks different. Not necessarily more dramatic, not necessarily more successful by external measures, at least not yet, though that will come, but more yours, more aligned, more real. The quality of your experience, the texture of your daily life, the quality of your presence in your own moments has shifted in a way that is hard to articulate, but impossible to miss. Something has come into focus. Something has arrived. Something that was always there, but never quite visible, has finally become visible. That is your true identity. That is your soul, activated and present and real. That is the thing that was pressing from the inside for all those years, that was sending signals through the wrongness and the friction and the hollow performances. It is here now. It is you now. It is not separate from you, not above you, not a better version of you that you're trying to become. It is just you. The actual you, finally, fully, completely here. And from here, looking back at the gate, you understand something that you couldn't understand from the other side. You understand why it had to be a threshold, why the crossing had to be a specific moment rather than a gradual process, why the soul activates rather than evolves slowly. Because the constructed identity, the performance, the fear, the management system cannot be gradually replaced. It has to be crossed through. You have to reach the point where the essential identity is more real than the constructed one, where the true self is more present than the performance, where the gate is not just visible but open, and you are standing at it, and there is nothing left to do but step through. That point is tonight. You have crossed it, or you are crossing it, or you are standing at the very edge of it, feeling the threshold beneath your feet, feeling the gate open in front of you, feeling the essential identity pressing from the inside one more time, the last time it needs to press, because this time you are going to let it through. This is the crossing point. This is the moment where old reality ends and new reality begins. This is the quantum collapse. This is the phase transition completing. This is the soul activating its true identity. And there is no going back from here. Not as a loss, not as a closing door behind you, but as the simple, clean, quantum mechanical fact that once a state has collapsed, it cannot return to superposition. Once the observation has been made, it cannot be unmade. Once the essential identity has been seen, really seen, clearly seen, undeniably seen, it cannot be unseen. You know what you are now. You have made contact with the essential pattern. You have felt the frequency of your actual self. And that knowing, that contact, that recognition is permanent. The gate is behind you now. The other side is where you are. And the life that unfolds from this point forward will be different from the life that was unfolding before it, because the person living it is different. Not a better constructed identity, not an improved performance, but an actual person, living an actual life, from the ground of what they actually are. This is what you came here for tonight. This is what the soul was pressing toward. This is what the wrongness was pointing at. This is what the gate was always offering. Welcome to the other side. Welcome to your true identity. Welcome to the life that begins now. Not gradually, not eventually, not when the conditions are finally right, but now, tonight, in this moment, on this side of the gate. The soul has activated. The identity is real. The crossing is complete. And the first breath you take on this side, let it be a breath as yourself.